Eat it, buddy. Where's Rowan?
Hey, like my breakfast? My breakfast is back.
What do you got there, man?
Hey, it's my breakfast, bro.
What is it?
My dinner.
Breakfast of champions.
Breakfast and champion dinner.
You got a drink there?
Hey, it's my breakfast, brother.
It's kind of early for you to be
What
drinking.
you think I get up every morning and drink my breakfast?
It's kind of early for that, Pete.
Early? Hey, I gotta have my dinner sometimes, brother. Breakfast time.
All right.
What you think I make this movie for? For my breakfast, bro. What you think I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and eat breakfast?
Pete, you got anything else in that jacket you're concealing?
Hey.
We got a special thing for you.
Yeah.
We'll take
What?
it off. We'll take it off. You want to take it off now?
Can't take it off now.
Give him a little sneak peek.
I need a little peek, though.
Yeah, give me a little peek. Let me see what you got.
I need a little tiny peek.
Tease me.
Tease your ass. Super boy, you know?
Tease to a piece, no?
Super bitch.
Pete, that bottle's almost bigger than your head.
It's a point out. You can't handle it?
No, I can hit. I'm just saying, look, put that by your head.
Oh.
It's bigger than your head.
Bigger than my head.
Yeah.
My head's big. My balls is bigger than this. Size of the girl's cock. Okay.
Right in there, Pete.
There we go.
Right in there.
Right in here.
Yeah.
I think I'm about to call you Buck Joe.
What?
Beetlejuice, what's up, man?
I don't think so.
The sex man.
I don't think so.
Buck Joe, and that's the candy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm Bob. I'm Bob.
Bob.
I'm Bob.
You Bob?
I'm Bob.
Oh, Bob Joe.
No. Bob.
Bob?
Bob.
Oh, okay. Bob Joe.
No. Bob.
It's a joke.
That's okay?
It's okay. It's a joke. Bob is a joke, right? Well, they call it a cigarette joke.
That's okay.
Well,
Bob.
Bob
Bob.
joke. Okay, Bob.
Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you?
Oh, that's okay with me, brother.
Okay then. Okay.
Ain't the handler.
Okay.
Peter, what's going on, man?
Hey, nothing good, brother.
Hey, Bob, you go, bro.
You're nobody's giving you a hard time, huh?
Nah.
Have any of you ever seen the show Politically Incorrect?
Okay, yeah.
Basically, the setup is Bill Maher, who's the host here today, he sits in a chair in the middle, and on each side of him there are 2 chairs. He's just going to discuss topics of the day. He might, I don't even know what they're going to be. He may say, hey, today we're going to talk about the Egyptian hour that was down. How do you feel about that? And that's all we want you to do is just talk about, your feelings on current events, politics. That's really what the show is. All right? Okay. So
It should be fine.
that's why you guys are here today.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bill Maher, I got to bring him in here. This is the guy who hosts a show. I better make sure you know who Bill Maher is. He hosts Politically Incorrect, which is on ABC after Nightline. And Bill's a comedian. How come Bill's coming in that way?
Well, I don't know.
Bill is coming in the
entrance through me.
Interesting. You're bringing Bill in a whole new way. Gary said something funny about Bill. He says, Bill is the kind of guy, he says, when he comes in, he makes it very clear there's going to be no small talk back in the green room. Yeah. It's like,
I don't have time for that.
I'm like,
He doesn't
all
mix
angry.
with the rabble.
Yeah.
It'll be a light interview, Volp.
He goes, Bill's not one of those guys that's
Bill is a typical comedian, not a fun guy.
Yeah.
It just seems like an interesting show to do.
I'm a big fan of Lee Miles. Why go to people who aren't experts?
Is it tough to do that show? Or
take it, Joe's Fix-It Shop or Lee Miles?
it seems.
I think it's tough to do every show.
Lee Miles is they've been
Yeah,
there
just
for 40 years.
It just seems to be like there's no like.
Lee Miles has been the most trusted name.
It's always hard. It's always hard to do a show by committee. You know what I mean? Where there's like when they do that show, one person doesn't sit down and interview. Is it in all of them?
Yeah, pretty much.
And isn't that sort of hard? They're like all talking over each other, and everyone has different ideas at once.
If you think you have a transmission problem because your car is hesitating,
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean,
take it to the transmission experts. Lee
the
Miles.
more other people talk, the less I have to.
I just heard not a fun guy.
No.
Just put on the head.
Typically-
Wait, what was the first part of
The
that?
first part was typically comedians are not fun guys, and I have to agree.
That's not true.
Oh, that is so
please.
true.
How would you know?
Because I know comedians.
No, but you don't. You don't hang out with them. You don't party with them. I've never known.
When you're with each other, you're competing to be the funniest one.
Yeah, that's different.
Fun.
How would you know? What? We don't know comedians? What? We're not in show
certainly
business?
don't know them as well as I do.
Yeah,
It would be
how
like
could you
me
say that?
Because you guys are in radio. You're up at 4 in the morning.
We just saw you. You weren't having fun in there.
It's at 8 in the morning.
So
of course,
what?
this is not the
Lighten
hour.
up.
This is not the hour
What a
of
human are you?
comedians. Comedians hang out late at night in nightclubs.
Where were you last
What
night?
time do you start to become fun?
Where were you? Yeah. What time can we expect you to be fun?
At least 8 hours from now.
Where were you? Where were you last night?
I'm only fun at this hour if I've been up all night.
So far, I'm not laughing. You don't seem like that much fun.
Actually, you sound like you're in a much better mood than the last time I was here.
Is that right?
So I guess divorce agrees with you.
Well, look, no.
I don't mean that as a shot. I'm just saying.
Not divorced, I'm legally separated.
But you've got a grin. You're smiling. You're laughing. Look at him.
Get out of here. You know what he said? What he says about marriage is very true, Bill Maher. I read it when I read.
Never been in it.
No, but he knows himself well enough.
Right.
He has said. I read an interview with him in Playboy. He said the reason I never got married. He says marriage was set up years ago so that there would be duties. The woman would do certain things. Man would do certain things. He says. I have been successful enough where I have assistants and people who do those duties. And when I'm with a woman, the relationship is fun. You're not asking anybody to do any work.
Right. I don't want to cook. I don't want a maid. I just want to.
You want sex?
Yeah.
Well, not just sex.
Half the time, from what we hear, you hardly want them.
Yeah, you're very particular.
What?
No, we've had a few of your ex-girlfriends in here.
Oh God, I have not heard the end of that.
No, that was interesting. Tell me if there's any truth to that. I want to ask you about that before we get to.
I never heard it.
All right, here's
You're
what I
talking
heard.
about Karen.
Karen, yeah. She's a beautiful woman, by the way.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely.
You went out with her.
And a good person, too.
Yes. And she said you liked her and everything. And one night you turned to her and you said to her, listen, I like you a lot and everything. And you were in a car with her and you handed her an envelope. And you said to her, listen.
You just had a great time.
You just had a great time. And you said to her, I won't want you to open this envelope until I drop you off. And then you brought her to a hospital.
That's so. I heard that hospital thing. I don't know what that. I don't know where
that part
she's
of the story is not true.
But the letter.
I did write her a letter.
Right, and the letter said, "Look, I'm breaking up with you."
Yes.
You do it in a letter?
Only that one time. What do you mean I do it in a letter?
I think maybe that's the way you do it. Why the letter? I'm curious.
Because
teach me. Why the letter? I'm not saying this is a put down. Why the letter?
In your case, it would probably be more like a deposition.
Right.
There was nothing legal about this, and I just, a letter in time immemorial is a way to organize your thoughts, and also it denotes a seriousness. I think it means that this isn't just something that's frivolous. You're just not rattling it off and saying, "Hey, babe, gotta go."
Right.
It means you put some thought into it, and it means something to you. And we didn't go out for a very long time.
Right.
But don't you think it's a little impersonal?
No, as I'm trying to explain, I think it's more personal.
Well,
I say,
first of all, I
would say if you're chicken, you just you don't tell her to go to her face.
First of all, and you can ask her this and see if this jogs her memory. I don't know where she gets this about the hospital. She lived near the hospital.
Right.
This idea that I drove by the
She thinks you drove by the hospital so that
but there were other ways to get to her house.
Because she would be suicidal once she read this letter.
She must have been joking.
Right. No, she was serious. Wait, what did she say?
And she's insane.
She said that while driving her home, he drove by the hospital and made it very clear to point out the ways to get into the emergency room. And she didn't have to know. And she said that she felt that after she read the letter that she might be suicidal and that you were letting her know where she could go if she felt that way.
Listen, Bill's a hot stud. There's no question.
You don't lose a Bill Maher every day.
You don't lose a Bill Maher every day.
You wonder why I don't want to shake your hand when I come in.
Yeah, like he's not the life of the party.
But anyway, that is a complete falsehood. I sound like Michael Corleone. That is a complete falsehood.
Set it off.
And now that you have besmirched my reputation, I would like the same publicity. But
you have reached the pinnacle in your career.
No, I hope not.
No. I'll tell you why. My father is very critical of everyone. You have to be good if you win my father's favor, and you have to be a no-nonsense guy. So my mother and father called me the other night. My mother goes, "Your father wants to talk to you about Bill Maher."
Your father gets an introduction?
Oh yeah. No, it's always an introduction. I go, okay.
Hold on.
All right, Bill Maher is the topic. All right, let's hear what it is. Well, I'll just tell you, your father and I watched Larry King and this Bill Maher was on. It was the best hour I have ever seen.
Wow.
He is bright. I'm telling you, he was funny. You have to see this tape.
If only old Jews counted in the ratings. That's all I have to say. If only if they counted.
Then my father gets on. He goes, "Let me talk. This Bill Maher is very astute." And I said, yes, I've had him on the show. He's a bright guy. I always thought he was bright. I said, you know, I worked with his father. You did?
No.
Let me just finish what I have to say. The way he handled this Larry King, and your mother and I watch Larry King all the time, he was very bright and funny. I laughed. I go, okay. When are you going to compliment me?
You have done your job.
Yeah. The rest of the world was watching Regis in that game show, and my parents are tuned in. So in my family, you've hit heights. But you're a superstar.
And that's and please tell your folks, thank you very much. Because I'm telling you, if older people counted in the ratings,
you'd be huge.
I would be huge because they do love my show.
Right.
Because they see something in it, I think, that's a throwback, which is like real conversation. But you bring up another point, which is, you know, why doesn't your parents say that to you?
Right.
And I face the same thing, which is I get most of my great feedback from total strangers, and I bet you do too.
Yes, that is
something
true.
About the people around you just forget, or it just doesn't. But I never.
They say it to everybody but you.
Yeah,
because
well,
I used to be in the room with your father when you were doing the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And we'd watch it together. I mean, he'd tell everyone before you.
He wouldn't leave me alone about you.
Yeah.
And I knew your father,
raved about
but like I didn't know him super well. But I knew, you know, we'd always say hello and everything. He'd come up. You see my son? I said, yes. His son's brilliant. He goes, oh, you saw my son. You know, the guy never opened his mouth.
That son, yeah.
And you see, isn't that funny that he wouldn't say
people
it to
you work with. You know, people think that the people around us are always kissing our ass. I never hear anything from the people I work with. If it wasn't for strangers on the street, in bars, wherever I go, saying, "Hey, man, you
doing
tell
a
him
good job.
You're doing a great job."
Right.
I would never get any positive reinforcement.
Well, I know my family, it's almost welcome because you don't want to sit there and talk about your career and your business, so it's almost nice that they don't bring it up. But it would be once in a while okay to hear that, right?
Well, he's saying even the people around you, like the people you work with.
And also,
Jackie, quite frankly, badmouths me wherever he goes.
And also, lots of people that you know, maybe you go out with or you meet in passing, they think their psychology is, oh, he gets it all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll be the one to not give it to him, and that'll make me special. Yeah, it'll make you special. I won't like you.
You would like to hear those things.
Well, I would just like what a normal person wants, which is nice feedback and not just withholding or negative.
Right. That's all you get to hear all the time. Do you always travel with a hot chick? Even your publicist today is a hot chick. I mean, someone said this is like the hottest publicist they ever saw. Will you be dating her?
No, she's with her boyfriend.
Oh, she is. Oh, who wants that? We'll fire her.
And you know he dates exclusively from Playboy.
Oh, that's right. I dated one girl from Playboy.
Let me smell your hand.
And she came on this show.
Please. All right, here's what I set up for you today.
I had fish for breakfast. Please.
I set up something great for you. I really did, and I want to. Do you see our set over there? It looks like politically incorrect, doesn't it?
Oh, I know, but I'd rather be here.
No. You're not. You're going to go over there, and we're going to try this. Let me introduce to you.
This is better than my show. Your show's better.
No. I've arranged for you to do politically incorrect today. So I want to see how it goes. I wanted to give you a panel that I think would be interesting. Okay. First, let me introduce to you Crackhead Bob, who will be one of the panelists.
Crackhead Bob.
Crackhead Bob is up on everything. He watches a lot of TV.
Here he comes. He's coming through the back way.
Oh.
All right. He's up on all topics. I can't wait to hear everything. Like a Crackhead Bob.
Tuned in.
All right, give him a seat. Now I'm going to introduce to you Elephant Boy.
Let him say hello, Howard.
Hi, Crackhead. How are you?
What's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay.
Get close to that microphone if you would.
There's Elephant Boy coming in.
I love you, but get close to the microphone. Okay. This is going to be the best thing I've ever seen, I think.
Bill Maher's getting very nervous.
Bill Maher's ready to leave. You just stay there with your cards. Elephant Boy, how are you?
How you doing, Howard?
Good to see you. Let's meet Beetlejuice.
Come on, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice will be here. Elephant Boy, Crackhead Bob. This is going to be the best politically incorrect you've ever done.
It's going to be a freak show like everything else.
But why? Freaks can't have an opinion?
How dare you?
Here comes Beetlejuice.
How dare I? You introduce people named Beetlejuice? Oh, my God.
Beetlejuice, how you doing?
Oh, you're a sick man.
Why is that sick? Why? This guy isn't entitled to an opinion?
You should.
Why? You're so important that you can't talk to Beetlejuice? How are you, Beetlejuice?
Doing fine,
Howard.
What do you say?
I wish I was married to you so I could leave you right now. I'm telling you that right now.
And here is Croy. She's a little more normal than ever. Yeah. Croy, come on in and. All right. Oh, God.
Hey.
Look at that get up. You look gorgeous.
Hi.
Stand over there, right?
How are you?
Sit down.
I bet Bill
We'll have some police.
Modeling for Bill.
All right, you're going to have four interesting people this time, instead of Hollywood know-it-alls. And you will ask them questions, like you do on your show, and we'll see how it goes. A special edition of Politically Correct. How are you, Croy? Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh my
Marvelous
gosh, I'm
woman.
looking at that outfit.
First of all, Croy, you should tell Bill Maher so he knows who he's dealing with. You actually had a relationship with Ronald Reagan. Is that correct?
Well, it's an episode. It's not a relationship.
Right.
What year?
1980.
Oh, 1980.
It's
Recently.
been 20 years.
What did
I
you?
submitted my architecture to Ronald Reagan, and he kept it for Muhammad Ali and Fidel Castro, 2 individual pieces. And Charlton Heston was in the contract for Muhammad Ali and Frank Sinatra, but Frank Sinatra, as you know.
By the way, Bill, don't laugh. If you weren't a professional comedian famous, you'd be dating her. Remember that. All right. Is everyone ready? Beetlejuice, are you prepared to talk about whatever Bill Maher brings up?
Yeah.
You are. Okay. Crackhead Bob, are you ready?
Yep.
All right. And Elephant Boy?
Let's get on.
All right. Go ahead. Bill Maher, I turn it over to you. And now we're going to hear a brand new Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, the host. And Bill, don't be a snob.
Yeah,
These people are entitled to an opinion. And
People can vote.
look at Bill. He's got his bag in case he just wants to leave.
Wants to leave.
In case he wants to leave, he's got a bag.
I wouldn't trust you.
Do you feel this is insulting to you?
Ow!
Papa Boy.
Don't be a baby. Bill, do you feel this is insulting to you in your program?
Yes.
You do, really? Why? Do these
No.
people not? Are they not entitled
These are
to?
voters.
By the way, you should also know.
I'm not running for anything.
But I'm, you know.
All right. We're here. We're queer. Let's do it.
All right, let's have it. And right.
Hey now.
Hannah.
Crackhead Bob, are you queer?
Oh no.
No. All right.
I don't
All right.
think so.
So let me get the players here again. You're Crackhead Bob.
Yep.
That's correct.
And you're
Croy,
Croy.
Right.
Croy.
Right.
and it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Beetlejuice, you know.
Beetlejuice.
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 Don't miss him. Yeah.
And
Elephant Boy.
and Elephant Boy.
Thank you.
All right.
Now,
Ladies and gentlemen,
these are your names or names that Howard has given you?
they're their names now.
Yeah.
These
I'm stuck with that.
these came from the Massa over at the big house.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Croy's,
did it.
no, Croy's name is her
It's
name,
Croy,
and Beetlejuice is his own name.
Beetlejuice, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob had to change his thing.
Right.
Come
Because
on
Bob
now.
can't. Bob did so much crack he can't say his real name, which is George.
All right, go talk.
All right, go ahead.
Well, let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Yesterday, in the Caucasus, Boris Yeltsin and Bill Clinton had a summit over Chechnya. Bill Clinton lectured Mr. Yeltsin on whether he should not have his troops in there at this particular moment. Yeltsin's response was, "The United States record on human rights is far from perfect." Your thoughts, Beetlejuice?
Okay.
No, that's not a question you would ask.
Of course it is.
It is?
You
I
told
don't,
me you wanted to do what we do.
I don't feel that that's a very difficult question. Even I couldn't follow
Have
it.
you got another
Exactly.
topic?
Yeah,
That's
give
why
us
your
another
parents
topic.
watch my show.
No, I
not
don't
you.
like. They don't watch your show. They watch you on Larry King. Go ahead. Give me a.
Another
That's-
topic.
Hey, give another topic. No one's gonna have an opinion. Do you have an opinion on that, Croy?
Of course I do.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
See, Howard, you underestimate your own.
All right,
time.
go ahead, Croy.
The first part that I can conclude is there's farm area in Russia, and it's none of America's business what Boris Yeltsin does with his own territory. But on the second hand, Russia was not introduced into the United States of America until Ronald Reagan took office, and that's because he took my architecture away and he went in the opposite direction. And the direction that he's looking for is Fidel Castro and the Spanish.
All right. Listen.
I think time and God took your architecture away.
Yeah.
As it
Thank
does,
you.
as it does to us all.
By the way, you should point out that Beetlejuice is wearing a Superman costume.
Compliments to Christopher Reeve.
Right. Can you move on?
Anybody else want to weigh in on
Sure.
that topic?
No.
All right.
I can't even weigh in on that
Let's
topic.
move on to one of the other domestic stories this week that got big headlines. A 13-year-old boy.
Good. Yeah. All right. This is something we can follow. Yeah.
You know what I was going to say.
Go
Was
ahead.
caught with Howard Stern in the men's room.
I would never believe that, Howard. Lord is too hot.
Thank you, honey.
A 13-year-old boy was convicted of murder, the youngest American ever to be convicted of murder.
Good. Now, this is a good topic. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you hear
Did
this?
you say that again?
Do you hear this applause?
Go ahead, Bill. Don't.
My headphones.
Come on, go ahead.
I don't think it's anything to applaud.
Right.
Vagrant
However,
America.
this young man who was being represented by Jeffrey Feiger, cynically holding his hand as they enter a courtroom. Did you see that? Feiger holds his hand. Yeah. A very cynical maneuver, casting this young man as some sort of a rascal or a scamp.
Right.
He had 22 previous arrests, and he, as witnesses said, premeditatively shot somebody with a rifle. Now, he's still 13 years old. Should he get the death penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be.
Yes.
Yes.
Beetlejuice, your thoughts?
Well, he should be having it because he need a bit that affected.
Because what happened?
Well, he need a penalty, you know.
He needs a
Well, they
penalty.
should put him in the electric chair, so that's the
Yes, you're right, Beetlejuice. The penalty is due.
Yeah.
Let's go to Crackhead Bob.
Yeah.
Reprimand.
Well, all the time. If he did it, then he has to die. Then.
Well, what about his lawyer?
Kill him.
His lawyer
Should be
don't
put
even
in a
want the
death
symptom,
penalty.
Hey, this is working.
Hey, hold on, you two.
Hey,
Boy,
stop fighting.
when the sparks fly on this show.
Elephant Boy.
Got it.
Elephant Boy is trying to say something.
Gotti
I know
territory.
if we book Crackhead and Beetlejuice together.
Elephant Boy, you wanted to weigh in on this. Go ahead.
With 23 prior arrests, the system fair. You know, so I don't blame the boy, but something went wrong with his upbringing.
So should he get the death penalty?
I think so because the boy is beyond hope.
I see.
don't think
Yeah.
it. I
Absolutely.
don't think it would be.
Reprimand.
If you give him like 20 years, it would be.
No.
It would be the same.
Hey,
way.
Elephant Boy.
Yeah.
Not only did the system fail, but your speech coach failed.
I think so. I think so.
There's a lot of problems with this system.
So you got a problem with that, Bill? All right, one more question. I like this version of
I
politically
believe
correct.
this is a national show.
Beetlejuice, is that all you're going to say about the topic?
Hey, that's all it's going to be. It's just the topic.
All right, Crackhead, you done?
National and
I'm
Pentagon.
done.
McCroy, you believe in all this?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you do. All right.
Reprimand.
Okay.
All right.
All right, one more question, please.
Freaks say fry 'em. Next question. Decatur,
Right.
Decatur, Illinois. Jesse Jackson. You're familiar with the situation?
Yes.
Okay, it was a bleacher fight. I say that in a time when kids are throwing their babies in dumpsters, when kids are getting banged by their teachers, when kids are coming to school and shooting up a school or stabbing their classmates.
Right.
These kids had a good old-fashioned fist fight. I say they should be decorated, not suspended.
You don't really believe that.
I think they should absolutely get about a 2-day suspension, which is what it used to be in my high school.
I don't believe
this
that.
This is an overreaction to Littleton, and they're...
Hold it a second.
Wait a minute, you're not on the panel.
All right, I'm not on the panel. Right, I'm sorry, Bill. You're right. You're right. Okay, you got me worked out. All
You're
right.
your own freak over there.
Go to have a special kind of. Go ahead, Beetlejuice. You wanted to weigh in.
Well, I'll tell you that. Well, the kids is at the school, though, but they fight, you know. They bring up, you know, they fight, they guns, they shoot up, you know. Nah, they is beat up the kids in school, you know. That's how it is, you know. Honest honesty, you know.
Right.
Hey, you're avoiding the question. Stop being a politician, Beetlejuice. This is politically incorrect. Either you come...
I've been doing it for years, bro.
It's fighting stance.
I don't know what office you're running for.
By the way, you should know,
ready,
Bill,
that's why.
as the host of the show.
Yes.
For some reason, there's an internal feud going on. The Crackhead Bob and Elephant Boy are not talking to one another. Is that true?
We're that good. We're back being friends. What about?
Oh, you cleaned up that whole situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are friends now?
Yeah.
All right, Bill. Okay, I'm sorry I chimed in with
Thank
that.
God, an anxious nation can put that to rest.
All right, so Beetlejuice.
But, I'm a man. I am a man. I am a man.
What?
All right.
Oh, now, I can't believe I'm going from here to do The View. Are you familiar with that show?
Is that true? Are you doing that? You
I'm
are.
going from here to The View. My head is going to snap around. It's going to explode.
Are we going to attack this question, Bill? Get control of the show.
The question is, the guys were suspended for 2 years.
For 2 years for a bleacher fight. Every bleacher fight that I've ever seen looked exactly the same. They handled their problems as adolescent males the old-fashioned way, with a punch in the snoot, the way you're supposed to handle it. They didn't bring in guns. They didn't bring in knives. They are being punished for what a bunch of kids with rifles did in a different school.
But stop and let me talk.
Yeah, they are numerically out of order.
Be my guest.
No, it's not the fight themselves, but the fight caused a stampede. Hundreds of possible students can be hurt.
Yeah.
I don't blame the school district of suspending them.
Crackhead, do you know what he said?
Yeah.
What is he saying?
You gotta do it for for yourself, and he like one year,
Yeah.
and then be back.
Yeah. I
You're for a one-year
I would give
suspension.
it the rest of the time and see how to behave for next semester.
Right.
Well, you
Beetlejuice.
don't get to choose. It is 2 years of a suspension.
We haven't heard from Croy and Beetlejuice.
1 year. 1 year.
Croy, any thoughts, Beetlejuice?
No, it's all right. It's just the same days. It's just the wallows, you know. It's just the how to be, you know. The how to get 'em.
Right. Croy?
90 days.
90 days. 90 days. Well, Bill, you have done an incredible job.
And now a word from Del Monte.
Yes, Rob, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Howard, you have got to cancel this coming Saturday show and put this on. This is the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard.
Wait till you see it.
Oh, it's amazing.
Come on now.
This is the greatest discussion I've ever seen.
Well, listening to these four panelists discuss these topics is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, do you want to bring these guys to the View with you, Bill? I'll lend them to you. I mean, they're superstars.
Come on.
Howard,
Throw those lazy broads off there and get some real talent on. What is it, Elfin Boy? Yes.
Howard, you know, if we get on the show, Maher, we get better records than a test pattern.
Right.
Oh, thank you.
My thoughts exactly.
Right.
Some other topics. What about,
One last topic,
black
Bill.
men?
Really, don't.
Black men being able to get a taxi cab.
No, you're not the host.
Oh, sorry.
Everyone wants to host the show and take it away from Bill.
Stay out of it.
Yeah, stay out of it.
You can have that.
Well, actually, that
ahead,
one
Bill.
is a little played, but there's another topic we did last week that is related to that. Down in Miami.
Yes.
You know about this situation? A restaurant in Miami, a Thai restaurant. The
Collins Street, Al Pacino. That's all Miami I know.
What happened?
What?
Collins Street?
Collins Street.
Yeah, where everybody goes drinking and
Collins
pubbing.
Street, yes.
Yeah.
That's where all the old Jews used to go. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know
Right.
that you look like Hugh Hefner?
Thank you.
I also have an excellent angle.
Go on,
You're
Bill.
welcome. I love Hugh Hefner.
You like Bill Maher,
I
I
used
bet.
to
I bet
look
you like
like
to
De
sleep.
Niro, but
No, I
then
wouldn't.
Ronald Reagan sucked out all my precious bodily fluids.
I remember that. I read about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Stole your architecture. Right. That's right. I know that.
I'm waiting for Giuliani right now.
I bet you are.
Can't happen.
And he might go for it.
Who knows? He's a real freak.
So anyway, what happened in Miami?
Oh, in Miami.
Yeah.
The restaurateur added a 15% tip
Ah, yes.
to the bill of a black man, and this man is an immigrant. He's from Thailand, and he didn't seem to be a racist or hateful. And the guy said, "Why'd you do this?" And he said, "Because traditionally blacks in my restaurant don't tip very well, and so I'm just adding the tip onto the bill." The guy called the cops. They came, and this guy stuck to his shoguns. He said, "No, that's what it is." He said, "You know what? You people don't tip as well. I'm adding this to the bill."
Wow.
Now, it certainly is wrong, I think we would all agree, to add a tip just because of your race. But what do you say to a businessman who has no racial hatred, who's just doing something by the experience he's found? What do you do when political correctness comes up with life against life experience? Crackhead Bob, your thoughts.
Elephant Boy first.
Sorry, excuse me. Exactly. I didn't know where my head was. Elephant Boy.
But it's just a tip. It's something extra for the surface. It's my right to pay the 50%. It's my right to pay 20% or more if the surface is excellent. And it's my right not to pay anything if the surface is lousy.
Yep.
What about Beetlejuice? You look like you're ready to go on this one. Go ahead.
That's a tip.
Weigh in with that.
Well,
Do you tip Beetlejuice?
Yeah, I tip it all.
You're a black man. Yeah.
How much do you tip?
Me? I tip about $50.
$50.
No matter what.
One thing.
Really?
Yeah, for one thing.
But
$50, sir?
I'll serve you.
Whoa.
Beetlejuice, go ahead. What do you think of this? What about
Well, I think about it. Well, I do it sometimes.
You do?
Yeah, I tip people a little bit.
Right. All right.
Well, I get a lady $50 and all. And all, you know. In the restaurant, she gave it, you know, I said, yeah.
You lay a little
$50 for
green
you,
down,
honey.
it does impress the ladies, doesn't it?
You know?
You get laid. Tell Bill Maher you get laid.
Hey, I get laid once in a while.
He's a porno.
Crackhead Bob, you want to make a comment, or Croy? Because this is our last topic.
I think that everyone should leave a denominator of $1. I mean,
What?
Right.
that's my opinion.
That's all you
really?
tip?
Is that true, Croy?
Everybody leaves $1 on the stage. Everybody leaves $1 for the girls on the stage.
Strippers.
It's a little different.
Yeah, it sure is.
A lot different.
On what stage are you talking about?
I'm talking about.
Ooh,
Excuse me.
that can happen any man. What happened? On
$1 bills. That'll take
what stage are you talking?
I'm talking about 42nd and 8th Avenue and 42nd between Broadway and Broadway between 40.
All right. Crackhead Bob, let him Crackhead Bob get it. He's trying to get a word in. It's not fair.
You gotta, when you're going out to eat, and if it's nice, you know, the date is nice, and then pay. But if it's not nice, then that's vain.
Well, obviously the man was not an egg.
As usual, you put a fine point on it.
Croy, are you angered by that?
Yeah, because the man didn't have it in his pocket. Only the soul can fill its own pocket. If the man didn't have it, why should he be placed in a position with a gun in his head to leave a tip? But out of courtesy, he should place $1 on the table.
Well, I think you got.
He will be back.
I think you've gotten the final word.
Wow. Timeless thoughts couched in marble prose. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something, Bill. This was the best politically incorrect I've ever heard.
The whole thing.
You know, Bill Maher will be appearing at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, North Carolina, on November 20th. And if it's half as funny as this,
that's Saturday. Yeah.
You should go see him.
Be politics like this?
Not like this.
Theme, or do you ever stand up?
It'll just be stand-up comedy. Yes, absolutely. Mostly about Reagan.
Reagan.
You like that?
She's taken with him. Look at the way she's looking
I
at
am.
him.
He's a star. I was taken with Jason Alexander also.
You were.
Because he played that so nicely.
Yes.
He did.
Yes.
He was cute. He was fun.
Wonderful man.
So you like stars?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom, go ahead. You're on the air. You're on with our panel. You have a lot of different people to talk to, obviously, but try to pay attention to Bill Maher. I think he's bumming out over there. Go ahead.
Like you have.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I like to talk to Bill Maher. You know, Bill, you're nothing but a lousy bigot. What are you doing in my city?
Oh.
I'm a Catholic. I'm a Catholic, you scumbag.
What's
You
he
go on your television. You know, I love these liberals, Howard, that claim to be advocates of fairness. He's got 3 or 4 left-wing scumbags on his show.
I'm not a scumbag, mister. I'll tell you that. If I'm a scumbag, you're going to eat some politics this coming year.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Bill Maher.
You're talking about the company he's sitting in.
Hey, you're talking to my bitch now.
Howard,
Yeah.
arrange a boxing match with me and this bum.
Well, why are you so mad at Bill Maher? I'm not understanding.
He's a lousy bigot. He makes derogatory.
I've never heard him say anything bigoted.
He's always making derogatory comments.
Go ahead, explain, Bill. I can see Bill's trying to explain.
I think I can read through what this guy is talking about, and fellas, you're way above his level.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
We had on last week Kevin Smith, the director who has the new movie Dogma out.
Excellent movie.
It's a study of religion and Catholicism. Kevin is a devout Catholic, but he is questioning and searching for his faith.
Right.
I am a lapsed Catholic. I was brought up Catholic. I don't believe in Catholicism or any religion, and this man is upset at me for expressing that opinion.
Sure. Are you simply upset because he doesn't want to practice Catholicism?
I'm very
No, I'm sick and tired of the double standards.
What is the double standard?
Look, you can have a stand-up comic who's black can come out and make derogatory comments about white people, or a Jewish fella can make derogatory comments about Christians, but it's not permitted for, let's say, a white Christian person that's a stand-up comic to come out and make derogatory comments about blacks or Jews or anyone else. It wouldn't be tolerated.
What about that, Bill? Do you feel more comfortable making fun of Catholics and bashing Catholics, but you would never make fun of a black guy?
I don't make fun. That's not what I'm doing.
You don't sound like you're making fun.
However, Caucasian is.
I was simply expressing my opinion about religion, which, as I believe in the Jesse Ventura quote, it's a crutch for simple-minded people who need strength in numbers.
Thank you.
And it's a bureaucracy.
I agree with you.
What about that Beetlejuice? Do you agree or disagree?
Even this battle.
What do you want to say?
I don't agree like that. Well, if he says something black people, hey, black people get powerful, you know?
Right. You will kick ass.
Me? I beat the guy for fucking 10 minutes.
Oh,
I knocked him out for hours.
Hey.
You ain't even know it.
Right.
Relax. You don't want to turn this into a circus.
Somebody said. Somebody said something about a black guy. You're going to say something.
Yeah. That's right.
Listen, Bill, pleasure having you. You did a great job today.
Thank you very much.
Your show has never been more entertaining.
Thank you, Howard.
Beetlejuice, I want to thank you.
Hey, my weight size not right now, but it's on. I'm on out. I'm going out right now.
Right, and what?
No, I got a show to do right now.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Manhattan right now.
You are in Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm going to do my tossing right now.
Oh, tossing.
Oh, dwarf tossing. Okay, good. Congratulations, and wherever you appear, and if you ever want to get in touch with
Beetlejuice.com.
Beetlejuice.com. Right.
My Lord's name is Maher.
Croy, anything you want to promote? Just sit there, honey. Do you want to promote anything? No, crackhead. You got anything to promote?
No.
I just thought I'd tell you about the Lincoln Circus and the over at the.
I'd like to know what the Lincoln Circus is.
Did you see Stigma yet?
No, I did not.
I think that's why you like me by intuition.
All right, I'll leave it at that. Okay. Crackhead Bob, do you want to say something?
Like you,
PegasusConsole.com.
What?
PegasusConsole.com.
PegasusConcert.com. All right. And you, Elephant Boy, anything you want to promote?
No, I'm not doing this special. If you want to book me a crackhead bar, PegasusConsole.com.
All right, we'll leave it at that also. And JollyDwarf.com for Beetlejuice. And Bill, we'll throw a plug in for you since everyone else is plugging. You're no different than anyone else. You're just here for the plug. Yeah.
I don't want anyone to know where I'm at forevermore.
You're all right. You want to stay in hiding.
Remain anonymous.
Well, you can find him at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Saturday night.
That's not nice.
Suddenly, Bill misses Alan Thicke.
I'm still on that one.
Hold it. So many people want to talk to you, Bill.
This is causing talk.
Yeah, Sean, go ahead.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
How you doing? I remember one time I was at a movie theater, and you told a group of young black kids to be quiet. And after the movie theater, they all beat the crap out of you.
That's true.
That is true?
Yeah, I was telling you.
That's true, and you know what?
Like
That's sad.
There's a thing in the Inquirer this week.
Yeah.
That says I got punched in a movie theater, and I thought, where did they get this? And the only derivation I could think of was that they must have heard, like fifth hand, this true
like
story.
Telephone, yeah.
That happened, like telephone, because that's what happens. But this happened like 8 years ago.
You got balls if you would turn around. I would never tell a group of black people to quiet down.
They were 14 teenagers.
Right.
I mean, they were like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old.
Right.
And the movie was presumed innocent, a courtroom drama with Harrison Ford, a very serious adult movie. They were running up and down the aisle screaming. I mean, it was like out of control.
Was the Air Force
Nobody
One?
was saying anything.
No kidding.
I yelled. I said, from my seat, I said, shut up and sit down. They didn't. I went over there.
Right.
I went over to where they were, and I said, look, I paid money to see this movie. Sit down and shut the F up right now. Wait a second. Wait. And they did. And they watched the whole movie quietly.
Right.
As soon as it was over,
well, they were plotting your demise.
Killed me.
They did.
I got a sucker punch in the back of the head with a ring before I got out of the aisle.
You weren't with a girl, were you?
I was.
You were with a girl.
I was with my girlfriend at the time.
That does not impress you. I bet she broke up with you after that. You got beat up with a bunch of 12-year-olds.
No, she and I were deeply in love. And
really? She understood.
Well, my question is, should they be suspended for 2 days or a year?
How'd you like getting punched?
They should have been arrested.
By the way, those kids...
Was it old-fashioned?
Jesse Jackson is wrong. Those kids should be suspended for 2 years. I went to a school that was that out of control and more, and I took beatings every day. I would have prayed for somebody to suspend some kids for 2 years.
And that is the kind of thing that escalates.
Right, I was terrorized. I'm telling you.
No.
Look what it did to me.
No, he said.
Right.
Just a
I
good
understand after you got beat up by these kids, your girlfriend drove you to the emergency room and handed you a letter. Is that true?
And that's when I started dating Croy.
Right. Boy, only
Well,
if you could get her.
The papers. That's what you should.
That'll do it. Bill, good luck with your show, Politically
you.
Incorrect, and good luck with your gig in North Carolina
Thank
at the
you,
Comedy
Greg.
Zone. I want to thank Beetlejuice, Croy, Crackhead Bob, and Elephant Boy for this
Thank you,
edition of
Howard.
Politically Incorrect. Thank you.
How you doing, fellas?
How'd everything go in there, Beetlejuice?
Everything's going fine, man.
How was the
Beautiful.
game?
Oh, the game is good.
Do you have any problems with the questions or anything?
Nah. We did all the questions we had.
Pete, it seemed like you knew a little bit more than we thought you did.
Hey, it's a good question, man.
What's that?
Beautiful. It's a good question. I love it.
Yeah. Corey, how do you think everything went in there?
I thought it was an excellent show and an
Excellent
excellent, what do you call it when a master of ceremonies?
MC.
You didn't think that Bill Maher was a little hard on you?
No, not at all.
Because I don't think he was really agreeing with what you were saying.
Perhaps not. But he was very gentle with me.
It seemed like you kind of liked him a little bit there. Like you were
Very
a little,
much. Don't you think that he resembled Hugh Hefner in his nose and his lips?
Maybe.
To me, well, that's because
What do
I've
you
never
think,
met.
Well, I love it. Well, she's doing all right. Well, I'll stand by her side, you know?
So it seemed like you were kind of
Are you
infatuated.
talking about me?
No related.
Thank you very much. Here, pucker up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Bill, tell me how you think everything went today. Was it an interesting experience?
It was the usual Howard Stern experience.
So nothing shocked you? You weren't surprised by those wackos?
Howard cannot shock me anymore.
Are you considering redoing the format of your show to put some people like that?
No.
Never?
Of course not.
Okay.
But I'd rather be here where I can defend myself than to leave Howard talking about me when I'm not here.
Right.
I always feel like after I come, the next time he talks about me, he's a little nicer.
Right. What was your favorite thing today? Who was your favorite Whack Pack member?
Howard.
Yeah? Howard's the biggest wacko after all that?
He's a sick man.